Welcome to part 2 of how to spot an NOS EL34 tube. Some tubes that you may see but aren't as popular as the XF2, XF1 Mullards or the metal base Mullards. This one actually is a Mullard made XF3. This particular tube was made in the Blackburn factory for RTC, and the XF3 has a single top halo getter. It also, like most Mullards, has the hole in the centering pin. But it will have an XF3 listed above the date code on the side of the glass. Another Mullard tube that is similar to the XF3 is the XF4. Again, XF4 written above the date code on the side of the glass. This one will have a single halo getter, very much like the XF3. There's very little difference other than the listing on the side of the glass to tell a XF3 and XF4 apart. Both of these have the B factory code indicating they were made in the Blackburn, UK Mullard factory. The XF3 and 4, the XF4 actually was also made by Amperex. This one being made for Dario Miniwatt. This one also is an XF4 Amperex. It's characterized by two D-shaped getters near the top of the tube, and it will have a slightly different factory code. It will say XF4, and then below that typically the letter X or the letter L indicating the Dutch Philips manufacturer. Another one that was made by Philips was the XF5 version. This one is an XF5 that was made for Amperex Bugle Boy. The XF5 is very similar to the XF4. It has the two D-shaped getters in the top. Sometimes you'll find them with dark bases. Here's an XF5 that actually has a fairly light colored base, again made by Philips for Dario Miniwatt with the two D-shaped getters in the top. Another tube which is popular but getting very hard to find is the USA manufactured EL34, often known as the 6CA7 by its USA nomenclature. This will often have the brand names Sylvania, RCA, or GE on the base, although I believe only Sylvania and GE made this tube. These are often called the Fat Boy type. The glass bottle is fatter than the base, and the plates have very distinctive 3 large holes in them, and there's typically a couple of getters at the very top of the tube. Another tube which is quite good is the Japanese made in the Mullard factory in Japan. Frequently these tubes will say Japan either on the base or on the glass, and they will have a halo getter inside, much like the XF3 or XF4 Mullard types, since they were set up in a factory made by Mullard but made in Japan. These tubes are very good and actually about half to a third of the cost of actual Mullard tubes. A few tubes to watch out for. The so-called East German dimpled glass top tube, this EL34, was made for National, and it actually says made in East Germany on it. And it typically has a single halo getter and looks very much like the XF3 or XF4 Mullard type, but you can tell it's East German by this dimple-looking shape in the top of the glass and the shiny plastic base, obviously with no hole in the centering pin. Another tube you might run into is a made in China type EL34. The Chinese types frequently have flat or pan-shaped getters in the top, and they'll often be marked China, but not always. They'll sometimes have mica spacers along the sides as well. And finally, a Russian tube. This one is a Sovtek made in approximately 1998. The Russian tubes also have a center halo getter. Sometimes have been relabeled to deceive people and will say things like Mullard or Amperex, but the Russian tubes have a wider black plastic base that is often very shiny and no hole in the centering pin. Hopefully this video will help you find and spot one of those rare XF3 or XF4 or even XF5 EL34 tubes.